the chair to respond accordingly. With that, let me introduce our witness today. Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen has been the Secretary of Homeland Security since December 2017 and was last before the committee in April of 2018. I want to thank her for joining us today and look forward to her testimony. I now ask the Secretary to rise and be sworn in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and beliefs, so help you God? I want to thank the Secretary. Without objection, the witness's full statement will be inserted in the record. I now recognize the Secretary to summarize her statement for 5 minutes.
Chairman Thompson, Ranking Member Rogers, and distinguished members of the committee, it is my honor to appear before you today. Before I begin, I want to note that our department has many missions. Our people work tirelessly every day, around the clock, to strengthen the safety and security of the American people against terrorists, transnational criminal organizations, hackers, rogue nation states, natural disasters, and more. I want to applaud them always for their extraordinary vigilance in protecting us all from persistent and emerging threats. But today I want to focus on one core mission in particular, our duty to secure our borders. This is one of the highest priorities of our President, this administration, and my department. Indeed, it is among the most fundamental responsibilities of any sovereign nation. I want to start by stressing that our country remains a beacon of hope, freedom, and opportunity to the world. We welcome more immigrants, temporary workers, and foreign travelers every year than any other nation on earth. Each year, more than 1 million people become lawful permanent residents of the United States. Legal immigration has been a bedrock of this country. We want to strengthen legal immigration and welcome more individuals through a merit-based system that enhances our economic vitality and the vibrancy of our diverse nation. We also will continue to uphold our humanitarian ideals. But illegal immigration is simply spiraling out of control and threatening public safety and national security. We face a crisis, a real, serious, and sustained crisis at our borders. We have tens of thousands of illegal aliens arriving at our doorstep every month. We have drugs, criminals, and violence spilling into our country every week. And we have smugglers and traffickers profiting from human misery every single day by exploiting people who are seeking a better life, deceiving them about our laws, and fueling everything from sexual slavery to child exploitation to the smuggling of illicit goods. Make no mistake, this chain of human misery is getting worse. Yesterday, we announced that the numbers of apprehension at our southern border have spiked again, substantially. Since late last year, we have been seeing 50,000 to 60,000 migrants arrive at our southern border each month. But in February, we saw a 30% jump over the previous month, with agents apprehending or encountering nearly 75,000 aliens. This is an 80% increase over the same time last year. And I can report today that CBP is forecasting the problem will get even worse this spring as the weather warms up. The projections are dire. The agency is now on track to apprehend more migrants crossing illegally in the first 6 months of this fiscal year than the entirety of FY17. And at the current pace, we are on track to encounter close to 1 million illegal aliens at our southern border this year. Our capacity is already severely restrained, but these increases will overwhelm the system entirely. This is not a manufactured crisis. This is truly an emergency. What's different about the current migrant flows, and this is important, is not just how many people are coming, but who is arriving. Historically, illegal aliens crossing into the United States were predominantly single adult males from Mexico with no legal right to stay, and who we could quickly detain and remove within 48 hours. But in recent years, we have seen the numbers of vulnerable populations, children and families, skyrocket. Over 60% of the current flow are family units and unaccompanied alien children, and 60% are non-Mexican. Because of outdated laws, misguided court decisions, and a massive backlog of cases, we are often forced to release these groups into the United States, and we have virtually no hope of removing them in the future. And importantly, our ability to help those truly in need is severely limited. The vast majority of these individuals are from Central America. While many of them initially claim asylum and are led into the United States, only 1 in 10 are ultimately granted asylum by an immigration judge. Unfortunately, when it comes time to remove the other 90%, they have often disappeared into the interior of our country. Smugglers and traffickers have caught on, realizing that the outdated laws, lack of resources, and bad court decisions effectively give them a free ticket into America. Information about the weaknesses in our system have spread quickly in Central America. In fact, they are advertised. And our booming economy under President Trump has made the dangerous journey even more attractive to migrants. As a result, the flow of families and children has become a flood. In the past 5 years, we have seen a 620% increase in families, or those posing as families, apprehended at the border. This last fiscal year was the highest on record. And of great concern to me is that the children are being used as pawns to get into our country. We have encountered recycling rings where innocent young people are used multiple times to help aliens gain illegal entry. As a nation, we simply cannot stand for this. We must fix the system. Today's migrant flows have created a humanitarian catastrophe. In one study, more than 30% of women reported sexual assault along the way, and 70% of all migrants reported experiencing violence. Smugglers and traffickers are forcing migrants into inhumane conditions, demanding extraordinary sums of money and putting their lives in danger. And vulnerable populations, especially children, are coming into DHS sicker than ever before. This is also a public safety and national security crisis. TCOs are using the situation to line their pockets, fueling a rise in other illegal activity and the spread of violent crime into our country. Gang members are smuggling new recruits into the United States, with CBP recording a 50% spike over the last fiscal year of the number of gang members apprehended at the southern border alone. And DHS personnel are grappling daily with the movement of drugs, illicit goods, and unknown threat actors coming across the borders. So what are we doing about this? At the President's direction, we are confronting it head-on in many ways. Let me try to quickly summarize. We've championed a border wall system, which includes infrastructure, technology, and additional personnel. We've implemented virtually every measure within our authority to end catch and release, to keep aliens with no legal right to stay from being released into our country. We've worked with the Pentagon to deploy troops to the southern border, which has helped us achieve tens of thousands of apprehensions and turnbacks of illegal aliens. We've dramatically increased referrals for prosecutions of single adults illegally crossing the border from 12% at the start of the administration to nearly 50% today. We have worked tirelessly with the Northern Triangle countries. I myself can attest to the many trips that I've made and the conversations and negotiations I've had to deal with the root causes of migration and to address the challenges at the source. I talk to my counterparts in Central America almost weekly. I travel down there regularly, and this month I'm happy to report that we expect to sign a historic regional compact, the first ever, with those countries, to counter irregular migration, human smuggling, trafficking, and the formation of caravans. This is something I've been pursuing for years, and it will have a real effect on this crisis. We've stepped up efforts to protect women and children from being abused, kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and exploited upon the dangerous journey, and we're doing more to dismantle TCOs, including through concerted interagency action and deeper foreign partnerships. We've intensified operations to seize illicit drugs, especially opioids, as they are smuggled into the U.S., including through the deployment of new technology. We're putting in place important measures to reduce asylum fraud so we can better help those who are truly fleeing persecution. This includes having certain individuals wait in Mexico until their claims are processed and where they are afforded humanitarian protection to ensure that the flow is safe and orderly. But it's simply still not enough. We need Congress to act so that we can take operational control of the border, as Congress directed us in law to do, to protect vulnerable populations, to reduce the life-ending flow of drugs into America, and to confront the scourge of human trafficking. Without congressional action, America's borders will never be secure. Until we deal with the outdated laws that contribute to this problem, the situation will only get worse. Simply put, the laws are not keeping up with the migrant flows. The gaps in the system are obvious. Just as laws must be revised to address technological advances and emerging threats, so too must the laws be changed to address vastly different circumstances at the border. If migrants arrive with children, we can only detain them for days and then we have to release them. Even when they have no legal right to stay, we cannot keep them together as a family.
Please summarize your statement.
Please. So what do we need? We need Congress to change the law to promote family unity, to ensure the safe and prompt return of UACs back to their home countries, and to close loopholes that allow dangerous criminals to get released into our communities. I'm happy to, in response to questions, talk more about our activities with the Northern Triangle, but I would just like to conclude my remarks by asking for Congress to work with me. I'm happy to meet with anyone that has a suggested solution. No rational person would design an immigration system like we have today. It's dangerous for Americans, it's dangerous for migrants, it undermines our nation's values, and it fails to uphold our fundamental obligations to the American people. Although we may disagree on solutions, I hope there can be a consensus that the current system isn't working and that this is an emergency we must address together. I look forward to your questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. We allowed you to go over because some people need to hear you for the first time.
I greatly appreciate that, sir.
So.